This week, find out how much effort goes into getting the right Instagram picture, why going to B&Q on a bank holiday is a terrible idea, and that my Star Wars knowledge is very, very limited. To get some pictures for Instagram, I wanted to change it up a little bit. I feel like every Instagram post you see from bat repairers and a lot of the manufacturers of cricket bats as well seem to be in the vice. Now, obviously, as the budgets get bigger and the companies get bigger, their marketing budget gets a little bit bigger. But I want to try a few different things out. So I've given it a go here where popping the bat on an old tree stump. And with a little click of the fingers, we can add some extra daylight in there as well. So like I say, I wanted just something a little bit different. Like I say, I feel like every post you see on Instagram of bat makers, of all the different people out there who are doing repairs, etc., they all just seem very similar. So I just want to change it up a little bit and make it a bit different. But to do that means manoeuvring all the stuff around the workshop constantly when I want to do it. But it seems to be worth it, and I kind of like the way they look when they come out. And once I've finished messing around and doing all that sort of stuff, come in and pop the bat in the vise. It's actually starting to get a little bit warmer here in the UK now, so we can go down to just a t-shirt in the workshop. It's more taxing than you actually think, and with the weather getting warmer as well, it does start to become a bit of a tough day, so especially with the heat going on as well, it gets really warm in the workshop. And instead of using the polish wheel, I'm now using a little screw in the wall over there to hang my stuff up on. Realised last week when I hung it up on the polish wheel that the hood of my coat had loads of polish inside of it, which isn't the best. So this bat had a huge crack through the toe, running up the back of the bat and through the front of the blade as well. So to get a good look at it, I took off that back sticker there. Now here's the perfect opportunity to say something really witty and funny about Star Wars, but I can't say I've ever watched them, and I can't say I ever plan to either. I wanted to get this out on the 4th, to hopefully get a few more clicks from those Star Wars fans who were searching YouTube on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes, so I think a lot of people would have been disappointed if they would come and clicked on the video. Sometimes when the cracks are a little bit bigger, it does make the repair a little bit easier. It allows for you to get into those cracks a little bit easier compared to those smaller repairs. Like we've mentioned before, it's really tough to say whether repairs are going to work. Again, this is quite a large repair, similar to the video before. In theory, it should work, but how long it will last, it really is impossible to say. However, if the customer looks after the bat, it should last him a little while longer yet. Now, I never really get to see these gloves up close when I'm doing them myself, but watching them back is always pretty satisfying. For some reason, I found out that this clamp wouldn't fit underneath, so I tried it over the top as well. For some reason, I thought that it would work over the top and not underneath, even though it's exactly the same width apart. So I'm not really too sure on my logic there. I also much prefer these quick clamps. They're much easier to attach in these situations. I don't often show it on camera, but there's a lot of times where I'm messing around with the clamps for ages trying to get them in the right position. And as you can see with this one, it's very heavily clamped. It's mainly just trying to get those little bits of wood in the way in between the willow and the clamps that's the difficult part. So we return to the back the next day, and as always, take off all the clamps and just have a quick look, and just to see if the glue up overnight has done what we wanted it to do. Unlike the repair last week, I was feeling quite confident about this one. You can still see where the crack was, and that's really never going to go away, even after sanding. But I was quite confident as it seemed to have come out quite well. It was really tough to get the tape off though. It took a few attempts and it needed a bit of the heat gun afterwards to help just get a little bit of that adhesive off. All in all, this was quite a nice repair actually. Although the back wasn't in the best of shapes, the stickers came off quite nicely. The scuff sheet, yeah, it left some residue, but they all do. The stickers, again, didn't really leave too much residue, and the sanding process was pretty easy too. So all in all, although it was a big repair, and it was quite a large crack down the back of the blade, it was actually a nice one. There was a little bit of willow here as well, standing a bit tall. So before I started sanding down with the machine sander, I thought I'd come in first and just hand sand that down. So it's roughly the same level as the rest of the bat. Just popping a bit of super glue in there as well will help. For some reason, every time I put the sandpaper on, I always like to give it a double tap. I'm not really sure why, but it's a habit that I've gotten into. So like I say, even though this is a nicer repair than some of the ones we've done before in terms of the glue that's been left by the stickers and the scuff sheet, we still need to come in with a draw knife and take off that last bit of residue. I think the reason I chose to take this off with the draw knife though, instead of using a heat gun, is because the residue wasn't as sticky as normal, so it came off a little bit easier. but from the glue up there was still a little bit of excess glue around the crack. And the sander didn't seem to like it too much, so I had to come in and hand sand that off instead. And as you can see from the toe, although it's bearing some of its battle scars, the crack has healed really nicely. As with every repair though, we follow that 80, 120 and 240 grit, and then you come in to finish off with a hand sand. I always like to use some ear defenders to make sure I'm protecting those faithful tabs of mine. However, I realise the importance of my lungs as well, and that sanding and being around really fine dust particles probably isn't too good for my health. So on Bank Holiday Monday, I decided it was a good idea to go to B&Q. I think I got there fairly early, probably about 9:30, having spent a bit of time in the workshop beforehand. However, it wasn't a good idea. I'm pretty sure I could have told myself this before I went, but I still decided to drive the 20 minutes to the nearest B&Q, and I struggled to get through the door. Now, I wasn't entirely sure which dust vac it was that I wanted, so I wanted to have a chat to somebody inside B&Q so they could help me decide. However, this was absolutely not going to happen, so I picked up a few clamps out of panic more than anything else and left. So it wasn't a particularly successful trip. Plus, the clamps just aren't as good as that quick clamp that we discussed earlier. So it looks like I'm going to have to make another trip to B&Q at some point in the near future. Your lungs are quite important, so I need to protect them as much as I can. A bit like a smoker's lung, bat maker's lungs are probably full of willow sawdust. It often gets up in and around your eyes and in places you couldn't even imagine it can get, when you notice it when you're driving home or when you get in the shower. And most of my clothes that I go to the workshop in are now an odd colour of grey. But aside from the little sawdust saga and the failed attempt to buy a dust vac from B&Q, we come in and finish off the repair with that polish. Now, I did actually find the polish. I did actually find out what it was called. It's from a company called Vonax, and it's their finishing compound. You can't read it on there, but it does say they're from Birmingham. Now, no idea if this company is still going, but this is the one that Uncle Charlie used to use, so it's good enough for me. So the customer wanted a set of broadside stickers on there. Out of all the stickers Charlie did, probably my least favourite. With most other bat makers and most other industries, to be honest, they tend to name their stickers or their bats or their clothing ranges after certain things. Charlie used to like to name his bats after beers or guitars. These stickers were named after beer. So the description of the broadside was that it delivers a canon of bold fruitcake flavours and a taste that's endured for nearly 50 years. So I'm not too sure what the characteristics of the bat will be, or what Charlie intended the characteristics of the bat to be. But the broadside was known in more traditional shape, so I suppose that's where that comes from. So after we've applied those stickers, just applying a very light coating of linseed oil underneath the scuff sheet to hopefully prevent it from drying out. This is another case in point for the dust vac, as you can see the side is absolutely covered in sawdust. Now I'm not assuming that a dust vac will completely solve these issues, but I assume it will have a massive impact. And then the worst part of every repair, putting the grip back on. The bat actually came out really nicely. I was really happy with the end result, and again, come in and take some photos for the Instagram to show a little before and after. I'm really impressed with how the polish came out on this one as well. Polish is something that I found a little bit tricky early doors, so I'm really happy about how this polish has come out. So thanks again for watching. If you need any tips or want your bat repaired, please reach out and we'll help you out as much as we can.